shop. Did some painting this morning. Got the underside of the hot rod and the inside, believe it or not, all painted. So it's time to put this thing on the chassis for the very last time, I hope. So I didn't get the exhaust done like I had hoped. I didn't get the brakes bled and hooked up like I'd hoped, but the body's ready to go on. So I am ready to put the body on so that I have less pieces around the shop and we'll just have to do everything from underneath. So let's just get started. See if we can get this thing on. Well, that wasn't real easy, but we got it. I welded those two rear bolts so that I wouldn't have to deal with them and I could use them for a guide, and it turned out to be a good guide, but it also made it a little harder to get lined up because they're curved a little. But yeah, we'll put them tabs on the front and then get the 6 bolts bolted down. There's actually going to be like 10 total, front to back. And then we'll refit the doors and adjust them. And then we're going to start working on this visor and getting a windshield in it. So we'll keep moving along. Working on the Model A Coopster. And we've got headers on with that. And we're good. Got to do the exhaust still. Working on this header panel. Making it out of tubing. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to wire wheel this down. I'm going to try to get that to where I can weld on it, and then we're going to squeeze this piece of tubing in there somehow. I've already marked it and drilled holes. So this right here piece, this is the filler that goes under the visor. So that goes up in there, and then the windshield kind of tucks up to that, and then this little lip along the top here, right here, it actually supports the edge of the visor, and I like to tack weld them to the visor. That way the visor doesn't flutter going down the road, because the visors will actually, on these hot rods, you know, they'll go faster than 45 miles an hour, so the visor starts to try to fly, and if you tack weld that thing, it doesn't do that. A lot of people, you know, they like to be able to take their cars apart. I don't. When I do this program here, I just weld everything together because I'm done at that point. I'm not going back into this thing. But we'll get this header squeezed in there and get that cleaned up and tacked up, and see if we can get a windshield hanging in it today. Well, windshield's in. Looks good. Fits good. Swings out. Now what I'm working on is these garnish moldings. These garnish moldings, they kind of go in here. Got to do a little fitting on that because this car was all bent up. But we'll get those fit and get them on. And then we can put the swing adjusters on the windshield and then work on a wiper. And we'll be ready for the visor. And then windshield check, done. Paint turned out good. Painted the floor all black and keep that from rusting. I'm going to leave the rest of the car kind of rustic per se, but we'll get back at you. Alrighty, I just ran to the airport real quick. My buddy Tim Spinks had a metal brake. I don't have a way to bend metal like this. Anyway, set up a camera here. What I'm doing, I'm getting ready to cut the hole for the fan. So what I did was I used a protractor, what do you call those little roundy round? Anyway, found the center of the sheet metal. Found the center of the fan hole. I've made up a little wire guide which will hopefully stay on my plas cutter as I cut around. So voila, just like that. Yeah, that was very slick right there. So now I'll take a grinder, tune that up just a little bit, clean this all up, and then we're gonna get that on the radiator and get it welded. We got a bung to weld in, we got a couple holes to drill, and then we will be putting the radiator on the car and finish mock up the cooler lines, get some coolant lines on it. So coolant and cooler, and we're ready to put trans fluid in. And if we get brakes, steering, and a couple of wires, the thing theoretically should run. Oh, we got to do the fuel system, but I can use my life support fuel system, so we might. New day in the shop on the Model A. Still, oh my gosh, love this car, but I hate it. It's time to do exhaust. There them are. Dump, dump. I get the flanges kind of figured out, and then I've got a box of mandrel stainless tubing, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to build the Y pipe, come around the front of the pan, collect over here by the starter, probably kind of in this region. I don't need to put it up too high, and then come along here with a 3-inch. I'm going to do a 3-inch single on this. I like single exhaust on these stock type motors because they give you a little bit of back pressure, and these motors like the back pressure. They make more torque, and they just put you in the seat a little bit harder. Yeah, if you race it up in the high RPMs, dual exhaust has an advantage, but that's not where I like to run these things. So let's get started. Well, just like that, we've got us a collector pipe, high clearance. Oil pan sticks down lower than that. It's pretty close on the old oil pan, but once the gaskets are in it, it'll come down. It'll be all right. So we're gonna go 3" out of here, and woohoo, a little muffler action, maybe tailpipe. Yeah, we'll be good to go. Alrighty, it's getting late. It's dark out. 7 o'clock-ish. I don't know. Keeping the neighbors up, I'm sure. Have to close the door in a minute. It's a good thing it's a weekend. Anyway, it's got the head pipe. I got this little tailpipe. I didn't bore you with the bending details. Pretty simple. Flowmaster Hush Power. Flowmaster Hush Power. That's what I'm putting on here. I like these. 2.5 inch. I don't think this thing needs any bigger. This motor doesn't flow like an LS. It's a little different. But working on a hanger, and then I'm going to let it down. And we're going to get into the next part of this project. Alrighty, so my neighbor Michael down the street, he's a Model A nut. I'd say he's a guru, but he's a nut. Anyway, he used to collect Model A parts. Actually, he used to be a dealer for Model A parts. He used to sell Model A parts. And I needed a visor for this thing. Couldn't find a visor. You know, some of the people are like, we don't know when they're going to be available. And I kind of wanted an original anyway. I didn't want to do an aftermarket metal visor. Voila, he comes up with a visor. Thank you, Michael. This thing fits phenomenal. So we're going to get on cleaning and tucking, and we're going to get a piece of tubing run across underneath of there, and then get this thing on and pop it in place. And it fits so good. This factory forged stuff is just the way to go. The aftermarket junk just isn't cool. It's got a little bit of bend in it right here, but as you weld them in place, and I like to weld them in place, but as you weld them in place, I'll weld this in because there's no wood. Normally they get nailed. You see these little holes? They just put nails in them. There's supposed to be a wooden header in here, but I've made it out of metal. So we're going to add more metal. Hillbilly engineering, add more metal. So we're going to get that put on, and I'm hoping later today, all I got to do is put trans fluid in it and a couple of wires, some coolant, and I can actually start the car. So I want to start it and test the transmission, and then we've got to finish the brakes. They're very close. There's a fitting that I was waiting on, and that fitting came in today. So we'll get the brakes hooked up and bled, and then put the steering in it. So should be running very shortly. Well, it's time. It's time to get this thing hooked up to life support. There's life support. And see if it'll start. Get some trans fluid in it. Run it through the gears. Make sure the transmission's going to work good. And then we can move forward with, I think, wiring. I got throttle linkage to do. I got brakes working on it. This caliper's hanging up. Gonna have to visit that, but I need to pack the wheel bearings anyway. But I don't know. Let's get it started up and see if it'll actually move. Alrighty, let's see if we can get this thing to start. Get my ATF ready so if it does start, I can dump some trans fluid in. You coming to help, Rand? Come here. Come here. Come help. Yeah, what are you doing? Oh, this is going to be scary for you. You ready? I think we need the fuel pump on. Forgot to turn the fuel pump on, Rand. But I think it's going to go. Okay. Gotta love fuel injected motors. They just fire right up. Well, we got reverse. Pretty good. Little rattle here and there. Check our fluids one more time. Try to go through a good heat cycle, circulate some coolant. Still low on fluid. We got to fix this caliper. It's locked up. Get the brakes touched up. Get a throttle in it, and we'll be driving it soon. So. Hopefully next time you see a video of this car, we're out doing a smoky burnout with it. Thanks for watching.
Almost. Okay, well, looks like this is what I'm going to be bringing down to Glamis for the birthday bash. It's pretty legit. It just needs a lot of cleaning up. It's been really scabbed together, a lot of it. But I got all new parts. Check them true tracks out. They're starting to come apart. Yeah, a lot of work to do on that baby. Today's project, yesterday's project, and tomorrow's project. This little buggy, I got most of the crap job cut off of it. This thing is really scabbed together in places. I got to turn on its side now and do a couple of welds, and then it's going back together. We got a whole bunch of new parts, Let's see if we can make this thing run. There's the motor, just waiting to go in. We're doing the rollover test here. See how far it'll actually go before it tips over. I think we exceeded it.